How's it going, guys? This is the Core 3 from fightinggamesonline.info, and I'm here with a first look at the recently released Yatagarasu Attack on Cataclysm Alpha build. Initially, if you were a $40 backer, you received the Alpha build, but now they're allowing $10 backers to be a part of the process. Now this Alpha is not the final version, so a lot of things that I'm going to talk about today are subject to change. So it's just basically important to note that before I start getting into talking about the game. So I kind of want to just give you a background on Yatagarasu in general. Yatagarasu was developed by 3 former SNK employees, and all of them worked on the King of Fighters franchise. I can't exactly tell you when. What I can say is that they developed an amazing game that basically implemented a lot of the old fighting games from the past, like Street Fighter, Third Strike, King of Fighters. You know, everything kind of just came together to create this game that you see now. There has been subsequent releases with different versions, but the first one was released in August 13th of 2011. Of course, there have been plans to release Yatagarasu on different consoles, and so basically they came up with a build which was, I think, 4.3, and that involved a lot of localizing, because at first this was just an import. They didn't have any English subtitles or anything like that. The plan was to basically put it on consoles, and that's still in the works, but I haven't heard much since last year. From my recollection, the Catalyst video gaming publisher was supposed to release a version for Vita, for the Xbox One, and for the PS4. I did see something about the Vita version at E3. I wrote an article about fighting games at E3, and there was a spotting of that Vita version, but there hasn't really been any announcements for this version to come out. But that version at that time was 4.3. Now the game was released for the PC. It's available still to this day on Rice Digital. If you would like to download it right now, you can. And I was able to purchase it, and I did have the opportunity to play for a little while until an unfortunate incident happened. Now, with my experience, I thought this was a pretty complete game. I mean, they had all the mechanics and everything in there, but the developers themselves stated that basically this was not a complete game and that they wanted to finish the game. And so what they decided to do was to create an indiegogo campaign to finish the game up. And essentially their initial goal was $68,000, and they were able to supersede that goal and get $118,243. As a result, they basically got to add GGPO support, English localization, and they also were able to get 3 characters added to the game. Now initially, the game was supposed to release sometime in February of this year, but they unfortunately ran into a lot of setbacks. And one of the biggest ones that I remember was one of the team members actually getting sick to the point that he was seriously ill and needed to be hospitalized. So these guys have been through a lot. Even, I think, from the onset of the game, they've been working pretty hard to bring this game to fruition. But it's finally here, and the release date is going to be sometime this fall. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the game. And I can tell you that there's a lot going on in this game, but we're not going to cover everything because I want to save that for the review. So the game has a 6-button layout, but it's a little different from your average Street Fighter game. You have 4 attack buttons, and then 2 of the buttons are dedicated to what you call button lock, or what you guys are familiar with, parry. Now if you're familiar with Street Fighter Third Strike, in order to do a parry you had to hit forward, and you also had to do that when you were doing low attacks. You would have to hit down forward. So in this case with Yatagarasu, using the button to parry makes it a whole lot easier, and I just believe that it's just going to make things a lot easier to pick up when people start playing. And just because I believe parrying took a long time in Third Strike to really master, so it shouldn't take too long to master now that it is basically a button instead of actual command. Now I think what really makes Yatagarasu original isn't even really the combat system. What really sets it apart from other fighting games is the announcers. You have 3 announcers to choose from, and they're basically your own personal announcer. So like with most fighting games, you only get 1 announcer, but in this case you have an announcer, and it's kind of like having your own corner man. When you do certain combos or you land a knockdown, you'll see them come out the corner and basically give an encouraging word or try to discourage the other player. They'll even insult your opponent. So this is kind of great. I mean, I like the fact that you have different personalities to choose from, and also that they're basically people who have been in the fighting game community. They're commentators, they're actual fighting game pros. So it's nice to have this addition. So right now the alpha build still has the Japanese commentators, but they have English subtitles, and we can probably expect that the English commentators should be there by the time the final product comes out. Now the alpha didn't have all the new characters, but they did add one character, which is Azure, and I've been in the lab with them for a while, and I really like this character. He's very interesting. I think he has a lot of potential to be a favorite. When I started off using him, I felt like a lot of his abilities weren't very useful, but the more I started to play, the more I saw that he had a lot of potential to be a great mix-up character. Seeing as this is still the alpha build, I don't quite know how much his character is going to change, but from what I've seen so far, his long-range fireball attack comes out pretty slow, and it really shouldn't be used quite often. It's really going to be difficult to use that to trade fireballs with, because most of the stuff goes right underneath the fireball when it's thrown. But I see a lot of potential in it when it comes to the mix-ups. You can do fireballs in the air, and if you use the tiger knee motion, you'll find a lot of interesting setups that you can do with his air fireball. He also has the ability to teleport, so he can basically teleport in front of you, on the other side of you, and basically when you start to put all these things together, that's when the craziness starts to happen with this character, and that's kind of what I'm starting to like about him as I've continued to play the game. His final special ability is a wheel kick, and I guess you can kind of use it on your combo enders. And then of course the EX special allows you to juggle a little bit off of it if you're able to hit somebody in the air. But I still kind of haven't really found this move to kind of be as useful as the other two. And he has a really great target combo that causes a knockdown, and it can be done from high or low. So I think that he has a lot of options that really make him a good character. If there was any real big changes that I'd want to see, it's definitely with his supers. I don't know if these are completed as yet, but from what I've seen, both his supers don't really seem to be as useful as the rest of the cast. I found that his first super, while it's very interesting, is really difficult to get a hit on your opponent, because all he does basically is throw the fireball into the air and then it lands on the ground, and depending on if you use the strong or the weak one, that's basically where it'll land. So haven't really been quite sure on how I should use this move. Even if I knock an opponent down, I still believe that they'll be able to react to it even after I've used the move. So I haven't really figured out what makes this super really useful as yet. And I hopefully they are planning to tweak this move, but so far I haven't found that it's been very useful. Now his second super move is a command grab, and I don't really feel like it's useful either. It requires you to get pretty close on the opponent, so I don't know what they have planned for the actual final version, but I hope they do tweak it. Once it's all said and done, I mean, like I said, I think Azure is a great character to use. I hope that, like I said, the tweaks that they make him a really great character, so that people don't get frustrated with using him, because I think, like I said, he has the potential to be a favorite in the cast. Developers did promise that they were going to make some changes to the returning cast, and in the alpha build I have seen a few changes. Both of the main characters, Crow and Ko, have been given some additional special effects to their fireballs and their dragon punches. So that you should notice right off the bat as soon as you see the game. There have also been a few confirmed changes that were found by the Yatagarasu community on Steam. for certain characters that now allow certain combos to connect, and also some new target combos. One of the most apparent changes seems to come with the character Juzumaru, who now has a command grab special. And this command grab basically takes the opponent and has him flying into the air, and then it can come back down for a juggle. So it's definitely an interesting move to give him. I mean, he's already a pretty fantastic character, and this command grab definitely makes him even more interesting to use. The only unfortunate thing about the move is that he no longer can use his Reela move. Now, at first I thought this move was completely gone, but it is still there. If you pick the first super art, I believe it's available. And I believe the command grab is in the second super art. I might have that backwards, but I know that basically with the super arts, the different moves available. Now, I haven't been able to try this with the rest of the cast, and I haven't really heard anything as far as in the community forum about any changes that the other characters have that are similar to this one. But I'm guessing that maybe some changes might be there when they release the beta version. Okay, so I guess you're curious about the online, and basically it is actually up and it's running, but it looks like it's still a work in progress. It's unclear whether or not GGPO is added as yet. They did say in Indiegogo that they were going to attempt to try and add it. If they couldn't, they would do it later on if they couldn't bring it out with the final build. Whether it's an alpha hasn't really been a definite as yet, but to me it does kind of look like it's there. Looking at most of the online interface, there are things that are kind of similar to what you would see on GGPO. Now, I'm only familiar with one other game that implemented it, which was Skullgirls, and of course they had their own interface as well. Of course, you had to open your ports. They had 2 ports that you had to open, and once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to go online. Now, there were basically 2 choices that you had. You can either host, or you can find a public lobby, or you can go to rank match, and somebody will find you in a rank match. You can just wait in the arcade, or you can wait in the training room. When you were hosting in the lobby, it was just a training room. There was no arcade mode available. My first couple of matches ran pretty slow. I believe like my first match that I had, I believe the ping was reading about 56 ms, 56 or 60. I couldn't really be sure, but it was running pretty slow, very sluggish, and so that wasn't a really good connection. It wasn't really until after they made the build available to the $10 supporters that I actually saw a lot more online matches. And for the most part, I would just go on rank match and I would pick up matches from there. And I think about maybe 2 or 3 of them ran pretty well, and they had a ping about 56 to 60, but it still kind of ran a little bit on the slow side. Not quite, I mean, the controls were responsive, but it still was a little bit sluggish. I think what I noticed about this online experience from other online experiences I've had is that it doesn't really seem to lag spike like with other matches. It just, if it's not a good connection, you'll just go very slow, and of course the better connection that you have, the faster that the characters move. But I kind of like it having it this way as to other ones where, you know, you just get hit with lag spikes in the middle of matches. This one didn't really seem that way. Whether or not this runs on rollback technology, I'm not sure. Like I said, there has been no answer about the GGPO netcodes yet. I was finally able to get a local match in state. I believe this person was probably maybe 2 hours, 3 hours away from me, but the connection was very good and the matches were great. There was no interruptions, you know, maybe a little bit of lag spikes, but nothing like apparently like, you know, super slow where it affected our gameplay. And the controls were responsive, and we were able to do all sorts of stuff with our combos and all that. Before I forget, I even got a chance to play somebody from Arizona. I mean, I'm in Georgia, and that actually was a pro player, Juicebox, and we were at probably 125 ms, and it actually ran pretty good. He was steamrolling me, but the fact that he was able to do some of the stuff that he did really speaks to the netcode on this game. So it could in fact be GGPO. I mean, There's plenty of matches that I've had at 125 on GGPO, and they ran pretty good. And so there's a good chance that maybe it could be, but I just cannot be sure. There was a spectator mode, so that was a good thing to see. That happened during one of the lobby play sessions. The host of the room was winning, so we never really got to switch, so I didn't really get the chance to see how that exactly worked. But for the most part, I was happy with what they had. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the online play, and I definitely look forward to seeing what they have in the final version. I think if they just tweak it a little bit more, it'll probably be one of the best netcodes for a fighting game. Well, I think I've basically covered everything that I wanted to. Hopefully I'll be able to get a chance to play the beta version and check out the 2 characters before the final version comes out. And I can just basically give an update to see how things are going. I'd like to thank Nyu-Media for giving us a chance to take a look at this alpha build. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. I really think it has a lot of potential, and I think that people should play this game. I think it's really worth playing. So when it comes out, when the date is announced, we'll basically let people know on fightinggamesonline.info. I really think this game is worth picking up. I mean, these guys put in a lot of work on this game, and it shows. So yeah, I think this is a game worth supporting. Well, that's all I wanted to go over. Yatagarasu has a page on Steam. If you guys want to go over there, that is where you're going to be able to purchase the game. It is up now. You can check out all the videos and stuff that they have available. For those who are interested in the game and want to learn more about it, Juicebox has a tutorial that covers all the basic mechanics and also some of the characters. So I'll put a link in the description for both the tutorial and the Steam store location. Well, that's it for this first look. We will have another one coming up, so stay tuned for that one.